The Football Show on Off the Ball.
With Sky. Watch Premier League, Women's Super League, EFL, Scottish Premiership and much more. Live on Sky Sports.
I'm prepared to do anything I can to play for my country again.
Do it then. What about your start to the game?
It wasn't bad, was it?
Why should an honest answer be a mistake?
How can a modern day manager not have a mobile phone?
Why should he?
All right, you're welcome along. It is Thursday's Football Show. Nathan with you for the next hour. Gavin Cooney's going to join me in studio in a little while. We're going to be talking about some of the Republic of Ireland players that Stephen Kenny will be considering for his squad and what sort of form and what sort of fitness they're in. So that on the way between now and 10. And we're also going to be talking the Manchester Derby, because we've got full live coverage coming your way on Sunday from the Etihad. 4:30 kickoff. Myself and Brian Kerr are going to be there for Manchester City against Manchester United, a fixture that is always an important one, but huge for both sides, in City's quest for the title and Manchester United's quest for the top four. It is scoreless between Everton and Bournemouth Wood in the FA Cup fifth round. That one's pretty much at half time now at Goodison Park. Remember, Bournemouth, a non-league side in the fifth round of the FA Cup, and holding Everton scoreless at the break. The draw for the quarter-final was made earlier. That will see the winners of that game go to Crystal Palace. Nottingham Forest or Huddersfield will take on Liverpool. It's Middlesbrough against Chelsea and Southampton against Manchester City. A reminder as well that tomorrow night again at 10 o'clock we'll be live on Twitter Spaces with League of Ireland Late Night. If you want to get in touch, if you're at any of the games and chat with myself and Johnny Ward and Shane Keegan, please do. It'll be 10 o'clock. We'll be live. Just follow Off the Ball on Twitter and it's very straightforward from there. Andy Mitten is on the line from United We Stand. Evening, Andy. I can't quite hear you there. You there, Andy?
Yeah, I'm here. I'm here.
There he is. So, Manchester Derby, Sunday. It's a weird quirk, isn't it, that Manchester United, no matter what's going on, when they go to the Etihad, they almost always seem to turn up.
Yes, it is a weird quirk because Manchester City have been the preeminent team in the Premier League the last few years, but Manchester United's results at the Etihad have surprised all, and some of the best performances in recent seasons have been in that fixture. I don't know why. I know that each of the games has been approached in a different manner, and Manchester United have done their tactical homework. So last season, for example, where Anthony Martial, another surprise in that game, was man of the match, Manchester United decided to press high on Manchester City. They knew that City would break their lines. They knew that they would need a bit of luck, and that Manchester City have got players who were capable of scoring from almost anywhere, but the United players did really well and they got a bit of luck and they got yet another win. Looking at the league table now, it seems equally improbable this time that Manchester United are going to get another win. I'm not too optimistic. I don't think Manchester United have been playing particularly well. And just look at the league table. There's a 19-point gap there after 27 games. It is a gulf. It's massive.
In terms of what tactical surprise they could come up with this week, like you've seen every game under Ralph Rangnick, have there been any tactical surprises? Has there been anything you've seen that you weren't quite expecting, or have you even seen what maybe you were expecting from Ralph Rangnick?
I think in his first game I saw what we were expecting and what we were told to expect. That was a 4-2-2-2-2-2-2-2, and for 25 minutes against Crystal Palace, I think it worked really well. I think Ralph Rangnick's United team doesn't concede too many goals. If you look at the points per game total, it's not bad. It's certainly an improvement on the last 6 or 7 weeks under Ole Gunnar Solskjaer. The fact that Manchester United are in fourth is to Ralph Rangnick's credit. United have really struggled to overcome teams near the bottom of the table, and Ralph Rangnick has had a favourable run of fixtures, and yet United have been unable to beat teams lower down in the league, Newcastle, Burnley, for example. And there's been several of them, most recently Watford at Old Trafford on Saturday in a 0-0 draw. And I think he's reverted to type because the players are more comfortable playing a 4-2-3-1, which was favoured for the most part by Ole Gunnar Solskjaer. Does it always convince? Not at all. Has there been times where it's looked really worrying? Absolutely. In Madrid last week, I thought Manchester United were atrocious in the first half, but they picked up a little bit in the second, and the substitutions were smart ones by the manager, and Anthony Langer got an equaliser which cheered up the 3,500 fans singing up in the away end, and have kept Manchester United in the tie. So Rangnick's doing all right, and if he gets United into fourth, I think he will have done well. If he wins the Champions League, he would have done exceptionally well. No one can really see that happening at the moment. But United have got tough fixtures coming up. One of them will be put back a month. That's because Liverpool have gone through in the FA Cup. And worryingly, Arsenal have been winning their games recently. So you've got a situation where Arsenal are 6, but they're only a point or 2 points behind Manchester United with 3 games in hand, I think. So United really need to stop drawing matches, even though they're not losing matches, because if they don't, well, there's 11 games left, and it'll be too late.
You mentioned that Liverpool game then is postponed. The next 3 though are still Manchester City at the Etihad, Tottenham at Old Trafford, and then the second leg against Atletico Madrid. Part of me was wondering ahead of that Atletico game, because it was the first, I guess you could say, big team that United had played since Rangnick came in, as to whether or not maybe his style and system wasn't that suited to lesser opposition, but somehow would come alive when he's faced with some of the best players in the world, and United would have less of the ball and they could be back to being a real counter-attacking force. Is that false optimism? Was there any sign that there could be some truth in that, and that actually over the next couple of weeks we'll see a different Manchester United?
So that counter-attack side you're talking about, that was probably the strength of Ole Gunnar Solskjaer's Manchester United, and that's why he got some really good results against teams like Manchester City. They'd beat them without having much of the possession, and Solskjaer's plan was for United to get more and more possession as the team improved into one which was challenging for a title. That simply didn't happen. I think that Atletico was a nightmare right from the first whistle. Playing Victor Lindelof right back was a surprise. I think he was played because the manager didn't want to drop Harry Maguire, and Atletico exploited it right from the start. So you had uncertainty about United's formation, and I asked directly 10 minutes before the game, because I had to tell television viewers, because I was pitch side doing my job, and I had no idea what the formation was going to be until the game started. And Atletico, with Lodi on the left, pushed right onto Manchester United. They went ahead early on. They were so much better in the first half. And what was alarming to me was this wasn't an informed Atletico team. This was an Atletico team who were 5th in La Liga. Yes, they are the Spanish champions. They were missing 5 or 6 of their best players from that starting lineup. So that 1-1 result in Madrid is actually a very good result. Would have been even better if away goals would continue into this season. And Atletico, and I stayed in Madrid a couple of days after the game, they will be vengeful. They feel absolutely robbed by what happened in the Metropolitano last week. So I hope that Manchester United learn from that. Clearly there's very good players who can beat Atletico Madrid. Manchester United squad is still full of top name players, but you just don't know whether they're going to turn up or not.
The results and the performances on the pitch then, not a huge amount of change in recent weeks, but also off the pitch, it's continuing in a familiar pattern with just never ending leaks and rumours around the squad. And Harry Maguire maybe is a personality that it's difficult to have a huge amount of sympathy for, but again today stories that he's been privately questioned by members of the Manchester United squad, that they've aired their grievances among themselves at the Carrington training ground. Some of them feel that the defenders' performances did not meet the club standards. I don't remember any other squad at an elite level where so many stories seem to come out of players questioning each other and splits in the camp. It's a little bit insane what's going on at the moment.
Well, there's always been leaks, and there always will be leaks, because you've got 25 people, and that's just the players who are privy into internal information.
Sorry, Andy, would you have found through the years that there's always leaks, but there would be leaks like this where it's players talking down other players?
No, I think there's always leaks, and when things are not going well, that's when you start to hear negative leaks like this one. That's when blame starts to be apportioned onto other people. That's when you start to hear backchat. You start to hear talks of there being leaks. So there's always been leaks, and there always will be. And because Manchester United are so newsworthy, and because of the way the modern media cycle works, it just needs to go out there. People don't really check the source of some of this for it to be digested and chewed over. And it's another episode in this soap opera of Manchester United. And sometimes I see some of the sources of information and I just think, I simply do not believe that. And with other people, I think, yeah, because I know that he knows him and etc. And you think there's probably something in that. But the point is that this season has been a disappointing one for Manchester United. Blame is being apportioned by different people. If not by the players, it might be by people close to the players. And some of the stuff I just see from journalists, and I'm just really circumspect about whether that's true or not. An example for me is someone said to me who was very in a pretty important position, you should be finding out who signed Fred. And he said that to me at the point when Fred was not playing well at all and was a maligned figure. So this would be November 18. So I started asking around, trying to find out, well, it was him. And there were a lot of people casting aspersions and it was quite negative. When Fred was man of the match 2 weeks later against Manchester City in probably Solskjaer's best match, people stopped coming to me and saying that. Nobody came to me and said that. And suddenly people are saying, actually, Fred's not a bad player. And there's so many versions of the truth in football, and it's so subjective all the time that I'm hearing 2-3 different versions of the same event. And my job as a journalist is to try and decipher that. And it's not always possible because it's just people's opinions. So Ralph Rangnick has got to deal with this and facing the British media before almost every match, and the international media for Champions League games as well. And I think he's quite honest in the way that he deals with the questions. I think he's been accused of hanging some of his players out in public, which is something Ole Gunnar Solskjaer didn't do. But I find it quite refreshing in the way that it gives you honest and intelligent answers. The problem is that there's 2 versions of the truth. There's been a couple of occasions recently where Ralph Rangnick has said one thing in his press conference, and the players or the players' advisors or whoever does the players' social media accounts, there's so many cooks in this, pushed back and said, actually, that's not true. And then everyone feeds off that because it's this big soap opera of Manchester United. And again, everyone's picking off on it. And when things are not going well, you just get more of this. Ferguson, he knew that there were leaks, but he was such a powerful authoritarian figure that there was less of it. And it helped that the team were winning all the time. The problem that you've got now is it's an interim manager. He's moving on at the end of the season. The players know that. They know that if they spoke out, the repercussions are probably not going to be permanent repercussions. And there's lots of shifting plates of power there. So you're going to have players who are leaving. You've had so many changes at the club, even in the last 6 months, not just Solskjaer, Michael Carrick, Kieran McKenna, Martin Pert, Ed Woodward, Charlie Brooks, head of the comms team. So right throughout the club, you're having people leaving. And they're not getting sacked apart from Solskjaer. They're leaving at their own accord. And with each departure, you get a power vacuum created, big or small. That leads to more people jockeying for position, more leaks coming out, more briefs coming out. And it's a bit of an unholy situation that you get now at Manchester United with so many negative headlines.
A lot may depend on whether Manchester United have Champions League football for what their plans for next season are. But in terms of positioning themselves to get back challenging towards the top of the league next year, both with the manager search and with a player search, who's leading that? Is that John Murtaugh's gig, or is Ralph Rangnick with that 2-year contract to move behind the scenes or to move up in the club? Is he involved in all those aspects of the business as well?
John Murtaugh is leading it, in answer to your question, and he will be assisted by people like Darren Fletcher. So when Ralph Rangnick was one of the managers who was interviewed for the interim role, it was those two who did the interviewing. So they spoke to 5 different candidates in total, and it will be on them. So if the new manager comes in and is a big success, they will get the credit for that. And if the new manager comes in and he's not a big success, they will get criticised for that. And there's only so many cycles that the people making the decisions can go through. As we've seen with Ed Woodward, even though he chose to leave at his own accord, he'd gone through 3 or 4 or 5 different managers without bringing a league title back to Old Trafford under his watch, without that even being close to happening. And it was time to move on. And it's the same with all of the decision makers. So at the moment, John Mert is in a position of power. Richard Arnold, who's his boss, will be watching him very, very closely. And his argument will be, we are giving you the tools to do your job properly. Why are we miles off the top, if indeed Manchester United are miles off the top next season? And that's that's just how it is at the moment. But it's such a political club in some ways, and you've seen other departures from the ones we've even mentioned. Nicky Butt, I spoke to him last week. He was, and it depressed me having spoke to him, because I thought I'd like him still working at Manchester United, and he's left. He's another one who could see the dynamics changing, and he decided to move on off his own accord. And there's good people there. I think Darren Fletcher's a good person. He's intelligent. He knows his football. But if I sound unconvincing, it's because I'm unconvinced. And I saw all the talk after the second quarter financial results this week about how Manchester United are going to do this, they're going to do that, they're going to do this. I've heard it all before. One change I did notice is Richard Arnold is delegating more. So you saw 3, 4, 5 different people speaking on behalf of Manchester United. And I think that's going to become more commonplace, so that there isn't just one person who fans can focus usually their anger on, which was Ed Woodward, but several different people who will be a point of contact for the comms and obviously the football side of things as well.
Yeah, it is hard to know what to make of all those departures, because when you're not winning, everything is questioned. And when Manchester United haven't been winning, maybe you think there needs to be a turnover of staff to bring back a winning culture. But also, if you're losing a huge amount of expertise in a very short period of time, like, that can be a setback in itself.
Yeah, and that's what's happening. And we're talking now under a cloud, because this has been a very disappointing season for Manchester United. You've got FA Cup games tonight. Manchester United are not in it because we were knocked out by a Championship team at Old Trafford after penalties. You've got a league title race. Manchester United are not in it and have not been in it at all, apart from in the first month. Champions League, Manchester United are still in it. The Carabao Cup, the final recently, Manchester United went out of that, having lost at home to West Ham. So it's been a really, really disappointing season. Especially so because when Cristiano Ronaldo and Rafael Varane and Jadon Sancho came in, expectations rose. And it wasn't unreasonable for them to rise. United finished second last season. There was showing signs of improvement. And then it just completely imploded in the autumn. And that saw the manager lose his job. And I think he understood why he lost his job. It's a club like United. You cannot be going through them type of results where I think 5 defeats in 7 matches. It was nowhere near good enough.
Looking ahead then again to Sunday and the Manchester derby, there was always, Pogba always seems to be the question mark for games like this. Like, does it need to be McTominay and Fred? Like, I think of the game against Liverpool where they took Pogba out on the right hand side. Again, you're just trying to squeeze him in somewhere. Do you have a feeling that Rangnick goes into a game like this now and he knows what his best 11 is?
I'm going to pause because I don't think he does, and I think he's been hesitant in naming it. You mentioned Paul Pogba. I thought it was very encouraging in the first half against Leeds United recently. That was when Manchester United scored 4 goals. That's not been happening. The team have not been scoring enough goals. We've only scored more than 1 goal at Old Trafford in, I think, 7 games since the turn of the year. I mean, come on, this is Manchester United at home. Paul Pogba, on his day, is a world-class player. He showed that at Leeds. He was fantastic, and at least for the first hour. But there's problems all over the pitch. The team have scored 44 goals. I think it's 9 less than at the same point as last season. So despite having all of these big names, Manchester in attack, Manchester United have been struggling with their forwards. I think the fans have got an idealised best 11, and that would probably be David De Gea. Rafael Varane is a player who's done well. Harry Maguire's a real point of contention for a lot of fans at the moment. We would have said for a long time that it was Aaron Wan-Bissaka and Luke Shaw, but that's gone into a state of flux this season. So Diogo Dalot's been playing at right back. Alex Telles has been featuring more at left back. Fred, McTominay, Nemanja Matic has had a couple of decent games recently. So many of the positions are up for grabs, without that sounding too cliched.
Fred and McTominay get a hard time. Fair enough, they may not be the quality of midfielder of Manchester United of 10, 15, 20 years ago, but in terms of effort, in terms of actually when Manchester United playing well, them playing well, there's other targets you could pick than Fred and McTominay.
Yeah, there is, and it's a fair comment, but you said 10, 20, 30 years ago, and it's one of the biggest clubs in the world. When you've had Roy Keane in that position and Brian Robson in that position, there's going to be comparisons with those great players. You look at the fullbacks, they're good fullbacks, but other clubs have got better fullbacks, because in the Premier League now the bar has been raised very high because of the money. Most of the clubs can go out, they can scout globally. So Manchester United cannot pick off the best talents from even clubs like Tottenham, like they used to be able to do, going to sign Michael Carrick or Teddy Sheringham. It doesn't happen like it used to do. So a gap has been closed in other ways. And I think Fred, he said it last week, he's not the most technical of players, but he does have his virtues and he has some decent matches, and then he infuriates fans by giving the ball away. And the central midfield has been an area where Manchester United have been looking to improve upon. That's why you've seen Declan Rice linked to Manchester United all of the time. And it's just another area where there's been concern. I think 6 games into this season, when the mood was very different, when Manchester United were at the top of the league, a central midfielder would have been the one position which players were looking at. Now I think you're looking at trying to strengthen all over the pitch, which is not going to happen. You can't just get rid of a whole squad, but that shows the frustration and how underwhelming a lot of the players have been this season.
Yeah, summer's going to be fascinating because, again, the midfield is still an issue and Declan Rice will be a big focus. If there's doubts about Harry Maguire as centre-back, an area once again, like full-backs are the most important position of the pitch right now, and also the various problems with attacking players, and Cavani looking like he's going to leave, Cristiano Ronaldo may leave. Like, that in itself could be a 200 million job trying to repair the attack, which was the area they thought they were strongest in.
Exactly, and that's my earlier point. It's an area where Manchester United are struggling to score goals. Anthony Martial has gone out on loan. He was not having a good season. Marcus Rashford's not had a good season. Anthony Elanga's come in, and he's been one of the few bright points of recent times. It's a real shame about Edinson Cavani because he finished last season so strongly, and when he's played this season, he's played well. And Manchester United's best performance this season was probably Tottenham away in October, when 2 played up front, Cavani and Ronaldo, and Ronaldo's wanted to play up front, but Rangnick has been reluctant for that to happen because it means dropping one of the players behind him. And you can see why Ronaldo wants that, because he wants support, because he's not the player that he was. And Cavani, even though he's getting on, he runs and he shows a great spirit. But what use is he if he can never play? So it's another frustration on top of the so many frustrations that we've had so far this season. And see Manchester United in 4th. If they finish 4th, it will be a relative success for this season. At least it gets the team into the Champions League next year. But if I sound downbeat, it's because it's been such a disappointing season.
And I guess Sunday, is it a no-win scenario in one way, because a victory puts Liverpool right back in the title race?
Yeah, it's a rock and a hard place, isn't it? You speak to Manchester United fans. Cheers for these questions, by the way. And it's like, who do you dislike most, Manchester City or Liverpool? And people will argue about that until the cows come home. No, we can't have City winning it. We've got to be Liverpool. Yeah, but then if Liverpool win it, then they're going to start catching us up. And you have all these tribal arguments. I, as a Manchester United fan, would like to see Manchester United beat City in the Manchester derby, and I don't think I will ever change that. It looks very, very complicated at the moment, and as good as Manchester United have been at the Etihad, City have been so good at Old Trafford, and this season, even though the scoreline wasn't as emphatic as the Liverpool game, they toyed with Manchester United, and that was really worrying to me. And even last season, in that semi-final of the League Cup, when Manchester United were on a good run briefly, hit the top of the table. When push really came to shove, City just had the extra to reach yet another cup final. Something Manchester United have been struggling to do, and we're coming up to 5 years now without a trophy. So it'd be a good job that United win the Champions League in Paris in May, because it's about time that trophy was won.
All right. On that cheery note, Andy, we'll leave it there. Great stuff as always.
Thank you.
Andy Mitten there from United We Stand. Of course, all our football coverage is brought to you by Sky, and it is Manchester Derby Day this Sunday. Don't miss City against United, live only on Sky Sports. In the live game tonight, still scoreless between Everton and non-league Bournemouth in the 5th round of the FA Cup. There's 8 minutes gone in the second half at Goodison Park. Up next, we're talking Ireland with Gavin Cooney.